Kidnapped by bandits, my elder brother and my childhood sweetheart both chose to save my foster sister first, leaving me behind without a second thought. My foster sister, who had narrowly escaped death, threw herself into my sweetheart's arms sobbing, "Brother Hang, I thought I'd never see you again. I had once gone missing for 3 years." This childhood sweetheart, who had deliberately kept his distance from my foster sister in the past because she had stolen my place, stiffly raised his hand for the first time and patted her back. "Don't be afraid. I'm here." My elder brother, standing beside them, affectionately pinched my foster sister's cheek. "When we get home, brother will make your favorite sweet and sour meatballs with his own hands." These two men in front of me, one was my childhood sweetheart, betrothed to me since we were little. The other was my own elder brother, who had once sheltered me under his wings. Yet now, after rescuing my foster sister, both of them had coincidentally forgotten that I had been kidnapped too. The three of them walked away, their figures growing fainter and fainter. The bandit beside me could no longer stand watching. He lowered the long knife pressed against my neck and clicked his tongue softly. "Poor thing, they don't want you anymore. How about you stay here and be my wife?" As soon as the bandit leader finished speaking, I silently lowered my eyes. Seeing that I still wouldn't say a word, he simply raised his knife and cut the hemp rope binding me. "Go on, leave. I don't bully women." I froze for a moment, my gaze falling on the scar above his eyebrow. The bandit leader looked fierce and imposing, standing at least 6 feet tall. Beneath his unkempt appearance, one could faintly make out the sharp, handsome contours of his face. He bit a blade of dogtail grass in his mouth and sat under a tree watching me. "I don't get why you're so set on going back anyway. From the moment this mess happened until now, those 2 pretty boys and your parents only paid the ransom for your sister. These scumbags don't care if you live or die at all." His eyes flicked to my tearing eyes and he raised an eyebrow. "So you might as well stay here with me at Qingfang Stronghold. I'll take care of you for the rest of your life. How about it?" My mind was in chaos and I still hung my head saying nothing. The bandit leader's patience seemed to have run out. He flipped onto his tall horse in one fluid motion. "Fine, if you don't want to, I won't force you." He pointed a hand at a path for me. "Follow this road straight ahead and you'll reach the city." Watching him raise his whip, I found myself speaking almost instinctively. "Can you take me away from Anjo?" He tightened the reins, turning to look at me with amused interest. "How old are you? Still pulling a runaway act?" I clenched my sleeves tightly, my tone still stubborn. "I can give you a lot of money." He let out a scoffing laugh. I lowered my eyes in disappointment. The next second his clear, cool voice rang out above my head. 7 days from now, Chichi Fairy, don't make me wait for you." The mountain road was rough and hard to traverse. I stumbled and fell several times along the way, even twisting my ankle. By the time I finally made it home, 3 days had passed. When I stepped into the mansion, my parents and elder brother were gathered around a mahogany table, each holding several bolts of bright, colorful silk fabric in their hands. Su Tangyu sat among them, her fingertips brushing a bolt of soft water-red satin, as she smiled up at Lu Jingheng beside her. "This color is so pretty. What do you think, brother?" Hung Lu Jing was just about to reply when the corner of his eye caught sight of me standing at the door. The fabric in his hand slipped from his grasp with a soft clatter. Falling onto the table, I leaned against the door frame, standing there quietly. The cuffs of my trousers were caked with mud, and my body was covered in bruises and scratches. The smiles on everyone's faces froze instantly. The lively chatter filling the room died down in an instant, replaced by an awkward, heavy silence. My elder brother, Su Yang, was the first to recover. He stood up and walked over to me, his voice awkward, laced with a hint of feigned concern. "Hey, you're finally home. These past few days, Jingheng and I even went to Qingfang Stronghold to look for you. The bandit said you'd already been let go. That's why we just..." My parents quickly chimed in, trying to smooth things over, as if they were terrified that I would make a scene. In the past, I would have certainly lost my temper, making a racket that would have turned the entire household upside down. I would have demanded to know why my elder brother only ever had eyes for Su Tangyu. I would have accused my fiancé, Lu Jingheng, of abandoning me when my life was hanging in the balance. I would have questioned my parents about why they hadn't spared me a single thought all these days. But perhaps it was because I was utterly exhausted from the past few days, or perhaps it was because I had already made up my mind to leave this family. Instead, I just spoke calmly. "Thank you for your concern, brother. I'm a little tired, so I'll go back to my room to rest first." Clearly not expecting me to react so calmly, Soo-young froze, his eyes filled with obvious shock. As I turned to leave, I caught a glimpse of Lu Jinghang and Su Tangyu standing pressed closely together out of the corner of my eye. A sharp, uncontrollable pain tugged at my heart. Once upon a time he had been so indignant, always speaking up for me. He had not only complained to me about my parents' and brother's favoritism, but had also always remained cold and distant towards Su Tangyu, never showing her the slightest leniency whenever she pestered him relentlessly. Noticing my gaze, Su Tangyu deliberately reached out and looped her arm through Lu Jinghang's. "Wait a minute, sister." Ignoring the triumphant smirk almost oozing from her eyes, I pulled my gaze away and asked, "Is there something else?" She glanced at Lu Jinghang beside her, then spoke in a catty tone. "It's nothing for me. It's Brother Hung who has something to say to you. It's about canceling your engagement." She covered her mouth with a pretentious giggle. "I'll let Brother Hung tell you himself." I turned around completely, facing Lu Jinghang directly, my eyes sharp with scrutiny. "What is it that you want to say to me?" A faint flicker crossed Lu Jinghang's clear, cool eyes. Yet he smoothly pulled his arm out of Su Tangyu's grasp without a word. "Are you injured anywhere else?" The triumphant smirk on Su Tangyu's lips froze instantly. She glared at me, her eyes swirling with so much calculation, resentment, and hatred that it was chilling to behold. I shook my head at Lu Jinghang, slightly surprised that he hadn't mentioned canceling our engagement. Then, under everyone's watchful eyes, I turned and walked away without looking back. Someone somehow had spread the news of Su Tangyu's and my kidnapping. Rumors began flying all over the city in an instant. Some even went so far as to say that the Su family's daughter had lost her virtue. Su Tangyu ran to my parents every day, wailing and crying. "My reputation is definitely ruined. What good family will ever want to marry me now?" I was carrying a food box into my mother's room when I happened to see her pulling Su Tangyu into her arms, comforting her with great tenderness. "Mother will think of a way. Mother will find a way for you. I will never let my precious daughter suffer any grievances." I set the food box down on the table with a soft thud. My mother turned around and saw me, her face lighting up as if she had just seen a lifeline. The next day, the entire Su mansion announced to the outside world that it was the eldest young lady of the Su family who had been kidnapped by the bandits, not the second young lady. As soon as the news spread, my mother and Soo-young came to my courtyard. My mother took my hands in hers, her voice urgent and pleading. "Hi, won't you take pity on Tangyu? She's still so young. If her reputation is ruined, her entire life will be destroyed." Soo-young stood beside her, his brows tightly furrowed, his tone firm and unquestionable. "Su-hai, this matter is settled. Tangyu's health is delicate. She can't bear the torment of these malicious rumors. You've always had a strong will since you were a child. You can handle it." Watching them tag team me, I felt as if something was stuck in my chest, a heavy suffocating pain weighing down on me. I took a deep breath, swallowing the lump in my throat, and asked softly, "Mother, did you open the food box I sent you the day before yesterday?" My mother froze for a moment, then mumbled vaguely, Yes, the pastries you made. They taste very good. Mother liked them a lot." Looking at her evasive eyes, I suddenly laughed. Yet, for some reason, I felt an overwhelming urge to cry. "Is that so? But what I made for you that day was clearly your favorite green rice cakes." As soon as the words left my mouth, my mother and Soo-young looked as if they had been struck hard with a club. Their faces turned deathly pale in an instant, as if they had suddenly remembered. When I was 7 years old, the day I went missing, I had gone out to buy wormwood and red bean paste to make green rice cakes for my mother, just to make her happy. The wormwood that year had been fresh and tender. I had returned to the spot where I had agreed to meet my brother with all the ingredients I had bought, only to find that he had long since abandoned me to go play leaf cards with his friends. And it was at that very moment that I had encountered the kidnappers who had taken me away. I turned and walked out of the room. My mother's panicked cry rang out behind me. "Nan! My footsteps faltered for a moment, and then I let out a bitter self-mocking laugh. I was afraid my mother had forgotten. Nan Nan used to be my nickname. But ever since I had gone missing and she had adopted Su Tangyu, she had given that name to her. That night, Su Tangyu came to see me. "Sister, have you heard all the rumors going around outside lately?" Before I could even open my mouth, she walked straight into my room and poured herself a cup of tea. Father and mother are really something. To protect me, they actually threw you to the wolves. Sister, you don't blame me, do you? I frowned, saying nothing. Crack. She deliberately let go of her hand. The teacup shattered into pieces on the floor in an instant. Su Tangyu slowly stood up and walked over to my side, leaning in close to whisper in my ear. "I'll tell you another little secret." She blinked her eyes that looked bright and innocent on the surface, but were filled with nothing but malice, and curved her lips into a cold smile. "I was the one who deliberately spread those rumors. I just wanted you to watch with your own eyes. Watch how your beloved parents, your brother, even your sweetheart abandoned you without a second thought for me." I knew deep down that this was just her usual trick. I knew she was waiting for me to lose control. Yet, I still raised my hand and slapped her across the face without hesitation. Su Tangyu let out a cry and stumbled backward, falling right onto the pile of broken porcelain shards on the floor. Her eyes glistened with tears, her expression fragile and utterly helpless. When my father's furious roar rang out behind me, I was not the least bit surprised. Ever since I had returned home, Su Tangyu had put on this exact same act of framing me countless times before. And every single time she had succeeded bit by bit. She had sown discord between me and the people I loved most. She had painted me as a domineering, vicious, and cruel person in everyone's eyes. And I had long since grown accustomed to standing alone, unable to defend myself against 100 accusations. Su Tangyu was injured. Everyone swarmed around her, crowding her, comforting her, shielding her protectively in the center of the group, while I was left standing outside, separated from them by an invisible wall, alone, isolated, until my father turned around in a rage and slapped me across the face without hesitation. "Sui, you are becoming more and more unruly and outrageous by the day." The slap was so hard that I stumbled backward, barely managing to stay on my feet. Warm blood gushed from my nose instantly, flowing down my face uncontrollably. He pointed a finger at me, his voice trembling with fury. "You ungrateful wretch. Apologize to your sister at once." I covered my stinging cheek, staring at him in a daze, the pain momentarily forgotten in a blur. I remembered how when I was little, he had once lifted me up high on his shoulders, laughing joyfully. Tears streamed down my face silently, mixing with the blood on my cheeks, salty and burning. I suddenly felt a deep, overwhelming sense of regret. I regret going through all the hardships, fighting tooth and nail to return to this home I once missed day and night. If I had never come back, would the father, mother, and brother in my memories have remained the same as they were in the beginning? Would that home which once loved, trusted, and doted on me unreservedly have never vanished? A tall wall of people shielded me from behind, blocking my father's livid face. I never thought that person would be Su Yang, his eyes fixed on my swollen cheek, a rare flicker of compassion crossing his gaze after so long. "Father, how can you hit sister without even asking why? I never thought my brother would speak up for me." Su Tangyu also looked at him in disbelief. Su Yang himself froze as if he couldn't understand why he had done that either. My father paused, then spoke up indignantly. "I saw her slap Tangyu with my own eyes. What more reason do I need to ask? She's so arrogant and obstinate. Even if she marries into the Liu family, she'll shame on us. In my opinion, we might as well give her marriage to Liu Jinghong to Tangyu instead." I let out a cold laugh. It was as if I had suddenly understood everything. So this was Su Tangyu's elaborate scheme today to get the marriage with Liu Jinghong. Before anyone could respond, my mother, who had been holding Su Tangyu's hand, suddenly let go and spoke instinctively. "His reputation is already tarnished now. If we take away her marriage to the Liu family too." As soon as the words left her mouth, everyone froze. My father looked at her in confusion. "How dare you speak up for that ungrateful brat? Ever since she came home, not only has she bullied you every day, she's turned the entire Su family upside down. I'm already being merciful by not kicking her out again. My mother's eyes darted to my pale face, and she quickly tugged at my father's sleeve. Just then Su Tangyu suddenly knelt on the ground, covering her face and wailing loudly, "Father, please don't say that anymore. Sister has sacrificed so much for me. If I take her marriage to brother Jinghong again, mother and brother will definitely blame me." My mother panicked instantly. No longer sparing me a glance, she hurried to pull Su Tangyu's hand. "Yua, that's not what mother meant." I had no patience left to watch this farce of mother-daughter affection. Thinking that in 2 days I would leave this place, I reached up to wipe the blood from my face and spoke calmly. "I agree to end my engagement with Lu Jinghang and give the marriage to my sister." The words hung in the air, and complete silence descended on the room. Su Yang, who was standing in front of me, turned around and looked at me in disbelief. "Su Hai, have you lost your mind?" Lu Jinghang had been standing at the door for who knows how long. As soon as he heard me agree to give the marriage to Su Tangyu, he grabbed my arm and dragged me outside without a care. When we reached the garden, I finally couldn't stand it anymore and wrenched free from his grip. Beneath the lonely moonlight, I finally got a clear look at his frosty face. "Are you angry with me for not saving you first that day? Is that why you're throwing a tantrum and want to break off our engagement?" The silver moonlight sliced between us like a sharp iron sword. I rubbed my red wrist. He went on, his voice urgent as he frowned. "Tangyu has always been timid. That day I was afraid she'd get scared, so I wanted to escort her down the mountain first. Besides, when I went back to look for you later, you were already gone." I nodded generously. "No need to explain so much to me. I understand." Lu Jinghang's lips parted slightly, and he froze for a long while. "Su Hai, what exactly do you mean?" His eyes fixed on my calm, expressionless face. It was as if he had suddenly realized something, and he let out a cold laugh. "Su Hai, the reason you've been acting so strangely since you came home is to play hard to get with me, isn't it?" He thought he had seen through me, smiling with a look of confidence. "Because you're jealous. You're angry," I replied casually. "Think whatever you want." Seeing me turn to leave, a rare flicker of panic crossed Lu Jinghang's eyes. He reached out and held my shoulder. "Do you really want to give our marriage to your sister?" I turned to look at him, smiling sarcastically. "Lu Jinghang, haven't you already taken a fancy to Su Tangyu long ago? Isn't this exactly what you've been hoping for?" As if his most secret thoughts had been laid bare, Lu Jinghang let go of my shoulder in shame and anger. "Su Hai, it was you who pushed me away first. I wasn't the one who changed my mind first. If it weren't for you getting worked up and picking fights with me every time I so much as said a few extra words to Tangyu, I wouldn't have ended up being utterly disappointed in you." A few lonely cicadas chirped from the lotus pond not far away. I subtly stepped back, putting some distance between us. "Lu Jinghang, you don't have to beat around the bush and say all this, because even if you admit you've changed your mind, it wouldn't be more humiliating than you shifting the blame like this." Lu Jinghang froze in place, his entire figure shrouded in the shadow of the tree. He didn't say a word for a long time. One day before I left home, I prepared a gift for everyone. The first gift was for my mother. She had carried me in her womb for 10 months, and before I went missing, she had raised me like a precious jewel. Now I embroidered all those years of her nurturing love into a square handkerchief. On the neatly stitched handkerchief, I embroidered 2 seeker deer, one big, one small. The big one was licking the fur of the small one. When my mother saw it, she seemed to instantly understand the meaning of the motherly love depicted on it. I spoke before she could. "Mother, you always used to say I was clumsy with my hands, not as clever as Su Tangyu. Unlike her, I couldn't recite poems or paint, couldn't bring you glory outside. Back then, I always secretly competed with her, as if I wanted to prove to you that I was better than her. When I was embroidering this handkerchief, I thought to myself, when I finish it, I'll definitely ask you, did you stop needing me because you found a daughter who suited you better? If you said yes, I'd take out this handkerchief and show you that I can learn anything Su Tangyu can do. I can also bring you honor outside. So, can you treat me well like you did when I was little? Don't be someone else's mother anymore." By the time I finished speaking, my voice was already choking with sobs. I fought hard to hold back the stinging tears in my eyes, forcing myself to stay calm. My mother's eyes had turned red before I knew it. She called out to me in a daze, "My baby girl." She reached out to hold me, but I subtly pulled away. I gave a bitter smile. Mother, but now it seems Su Tang you really is more like the legitimate daughter of the Su family. More like your daughter. After saying that, I didn't hesitate to turn around and leave, taking advantage of my mother's stunned silence. The gift for Su Yang was a few pieces of square candies wrapped in paper. Unfortunately, they had gone bad after being kept for so many years. Su Yang frowned as he unwrapped them, and as soon as he smelled the stench inside, he threw them on the ground without hesitation. He leaned against the wall and retched. Hi, are you trying to poison me to death? These are years old, aren't they? I stared at the scattered candies on the ground, my mind wandering slightly. 3 years old. Su Yang froze for a moment. Then realization dawned on him. These are the ones father brought back from the capital that year. I remember that year. The young ladies from wealthy families in the capital were all crazy about peach-flavored square candies, but the price of sugar had skyrocketed back then. Father spent a fortune to get just a few, but he gave all of them to you. You cherished them so much that you wouldn't give me a single piece. Father even gave me a strict order not to fight you for them. Memories of the distant past flooded back, and I couldn't help but let out a soft laugh. You were so angry about it that you didn't talk to me for days. Su Yang pouted. How could I not be angry? Father and mother doted on you so much back then and you were so spoiled. That's why later, when I took you out of the mansion to buy wormwood, I deliberately left without waiting for you. His voice trailed off abruptly. Su Yang stared at me. And when he spoke again, his voice was a little hoarse. I'm sorry. If it weren't for me back then, you wouldn't have gotten lost. I knelt down on the ground and picked up the dirt-stained candies, wrapping them in a handkerchief. Brother, believe it or not, I never blamed you for what happened back then. Just like how I didn't give you any of those candies back then. I only wanted to tease you at that time. I only ate one piece of those candies. I wanted to save the rest for you because you were the best brother in my heart. The air fell silent suddenly. I stood up and Su Yang stared at the candies wrapped in my hand. His lips pressed into a thin line. I said softly, at least you used to be. A flash of scarlet crossed his eyes. I handed him the handkerchief, breaking into a relieved smile. Brother, from now on no one will ever fight you for candies again. I never got to give the gift I prepared for my father. At that time I was standing outside his study. His cold voice drifted out from inside the room. I'm teaching you to copy calligraphy. If you don't have anything important to say, come back tomorrow. Su Tongya's triumphant voice followed closely. Sister, father praised me for my good handwriting. He even said he's going to mount my calligraphy and hang it on the wall. I didn't say a word. I just silently placed the gift I had prepared for him at the door. Father, I really don't have anything important to say. I won't disturb you teaching sister calligraphy. Then the next day, inside the dining hall of the Su mansion, looking at the empty seat beside her, Lu Ruan couldn't help but think of the handkerchief Su He had given her the day before. For some reason her heart was filled with unease. She looked up at Su Mushin, who was putting food on Su Tongya's plate, hesitated for a moment, then spoke tentatively. Mushin, should we call her to join us for dinner too? Su Mushin immediately put down his chopsticks. His brows furrowed tightly. Why bring her up for no reason? Didn't I give an order that she's not allowed to eat with us anymore? Lu Ruan was left speechless. A month ago, because her father had given a hairpin from the dowry he had prepared for her since childhood to Su Tangyu instead, Su He had made a scene during the family's dinner that night. In the end, she had so angered Su Mushin that he stormed off on the spot. Since then, he had forbidden Su He from dining with the rest of the family. Su Tangyu had nestled in her arms, looking delicate and pitiful as she said she was willing to return the hairpin. At the time she had even thought Su He was being too petty. It was just a hairpin. After all, Su He had a rich dowry. What harm would it do to give one piece away? But now her mind couldn't stop replaying the image of Su He huddled alone in a corner, crying bitterly. Yes, whether it was a hairpin or something else, that dowry had been personally prepared for her by her and her father. Those were her things. Thinking of Su He's unusual behavior in recent days, Lu Ruan felt a vague sense of unease. Fortunately, Su Yang, standing nearby, also spoke up to plead for Su He. Dad, no matter how unruly my sister was in the past, she is still your own flesh and blood and part of our family. How can family members not share a meal together? He paused slightly, his tone softening. Moreover, sister has indeed been much quieter these past few days. Su Mushin pondered for a moment, his expression easing somewhat. He called for a servant. Go and fetch the young master to join us for the meal. But just a moment later, the servant hurried back in panic. His voice trembled. Master, madam, it's not good. The young lady is missing. Su Yang shot up abruptly. What do you mean? She's missing? Lu Ruan suddenly turned pale and quickly demanded. How could she disappear? Explain yourself clearly. The maid trembled as she replied. When I went to summon the eldest mistress, the room was not only empty. Furthermore, all of the young mistress's valuable jewelry and ornaments were also gone. At that moment, another servant hurried forward holding a bundle. Master, this was found in front of your study. It was left behind by the eldest mistress. Su Mohan didn't even get a clear look at what it was, only felt a surge of fury rise to his head. With a swipe of his arm, the bundle was violently thrown to the ground, its straps loosening and its contents spilling slightly. This is going to turn the world upside down. How dare you run away from home if you've got the guts? Never come back from this moment on. I, Su Mohan, will only have Tang Yu as my daughter. Su Tang Yu immediately leaned in gently. Father, don't worry. Sister has always been mischievous by nature. She might just be using running away from home as a way to get our attention. Su Tang Yu turned her body sideways. Su Yang, standing beside her, happened to catch the smug smile still lingering at the corner of her mouth. He froze for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice was cold, laced with an unprecedented sharpness. Su Tang Yu, father is already angry, so don't add fuel to the fire. Su Tang Yu suddenly froze. But Su Yang no longer looked at her. He just stared at the bundle on the ground that had been scattered open, remembering the handkerchief he had embroidered for her mother, recalling her unusual calmness yesterday and the strange gesture of giving gifts to everyone. Those details he had overlooked now pierced his mind like cold needles, densely weaving together into a truth that sent shivers down his spine. She wasn't being capricious. She wasn't acting on impulse. She was clearly trying to sever all ties with everyone in this way. Thinking of this, Su Yang clenched his fists and quickly rushed out the door. Lu Ruan shouted after him in a rushed voice. Su Yang, you must find your sister back. The dusk-drenched Chichi Ferry, with the river breeze biting cold, stirred the reeds along the bank into a rustling whisper. I hadn't expected Su Yang to act so swiftly. He had already brought the Su residence's guards and the official constables, encircling this small ferry completely. Shortly after, Lu Jinghong hurriedly rode up on horseback. His hair was slightly disheveled, and his breath had not yet settled. Then she suddenly stared intently at the man beside me. Upon recognizing his face, her eyes instantly filled with shock, anger and disbelief. Su Hai, you're actually going with a mountain bandit. I frowned at him and instinctively took a half-step back. Lu Jinghong caught my movement, a flicker of surprise passing through his eyes. He suddenly pulled the white magnolia hairpin from his chest again, clutching it tightly in his hand as if it were some incriminating evidence. And this? What do you mean by giving this back to me? This hairpin was the first gift Lu Jinghong gave me when I returned home after being lost. Back then, I had been melancholy and dejected due to the cold treatment from my elder brother and parents. He said he would stand by my side unconditionally for the rest of his life. I believed him, but he didn't keep his promise. I met his gaze, my voice cold and devoid of any emotion, returning things to their rightful owner. Neither owes the other anything. For a fleeting moment, Lu Jinghong's face turned pale. Su Yang quickly stepped forward. Your brother knows you've been wronged. But as a young woman, have you considered how others will view you if you leave today with that mountain bandit in such an ambiguous manner? He spoke gently and soothingly, guiding with patience. Big brother promises that from now on, the family will treat you and Tang Yu equally, and will never let you suffer anymore. Be good. Will you come back first? I looked at his anxious expression, yet felt only a wave of sorrow in my heart. Brother, you probably forgot that when you and mother chose to sacrifice me to protect Su Tang Yu, I no longer had any reputation to speak of. As for the idea of impartiality, it is utterly ironic. Su Yang was frozen in place by my words, his face instantly turning deathly pale. Lu Jinghong immediately jumped in beside her, his tone urgent, as if he were making a great concession. Yes, the engagement remains unchanged. Su Hai, I will never cancel the engagement. He took a deep breath. If you care about Tang Yu, then I will grant her the status of a co-concubine equal to you in honor. Are you satisfied with that? Hearing those words, I almost burst into laughter. Sir Lu, this happiness of having many beauties at once, leave it to someone who truly values you. And besides, it's me, Su Hai, who wants to break off our engagement. It's me who doesn't want you anymore. The words fell, and I clutched the bundle in my hand tighter without hesitation. I walked toward the passenger ship that had been waiting for me. Su Hai. A cold voice called from behind. Lu Jinghong, if you dare to go with him today, I will immediately issue an order. This audacious bandit who has kidnapped an official's daughter will be executed on the spot. Punished to eliminate evil and protect the people. The constables and guards behind him instantly drew their bows. The cold glint of arrows aimed at Xiao hung beside me. The air froze instantly, intent to kill spreading through the damp river breeze. I suddenly halted. My heart clamped tight as if gripped by a cold hand. At that moment Xiao Hang, who had been lying against the haystack, rose to his feet. He casually patted the dust off his pants as if he had watched enough of the performance. He didn't even bother to glance at the blades pointed at him. He simply turned his head, his gaze calm and serious as he looked at me. Little innocent, ignore them whenever you wish to leave. I will take you away. As I spoke, I watched Xiao Hung silently place his hand over the hilt of his sword, with an unprecedented sense of determination. A wave of immense sorrow and absurdity inundated me like a tide. Eventually I closed my eyes. When I opened them again, all that remained was a lifeless ash of grayness. In the end, I gave in and returned to the Su residence with them. I could not care about myself, but I could not bear to watch someone who truly treated me with kindness and gave me freedom die because of me. The carriage entered the courtyard in oppressive silence. I had barely stepped off the carriage when, before I could even steady myself, my father burst out of the hall and strode quickly toward me, raising his hand high. In that instant I could nearly foresee the slap, carrying the sound of wind coming down. Fleeting images of countless past reprimands and neglect flooded my mind, and I instinctively squeezed my eyes shut, my body shrinking almost imperceptibly. Father! I heard Su Yang call out anxiously beside me. Yet the expected pain did not come. In the silence I only felt a rough, warm and slightly trembling hand gently brushing against my cheek. I opened my eyes in shock, unexpectedly meeting my father's bloodshot eyes. Dad! I just wanted to see if the bruise on your face had healed. Was he apologizing for the slap he once gave me? I stood completely frozen, my body rigid. Just then, my gaze drifted past his trembling shoulders and landed on the table in the main hall. There, spread out prominently, was the bundle I had left outside his study door. The cloth wrapping had come completely undone, revealing the contents inside. They were not pieces of gold or silver, nor were they exquisite silk garments or fine jewelry. They were 7 or 8 small wooden toys carved somewhat crudely but obviously worn smooth by the passage of time. A little bird tilting its head, a cart with only one wheel, a chubby baby with its hair tied in a bun. These were the gifts my father had carved by hand for me every year on my birthday. Before I went missing, he used to hold me on his lap, prickling my cheek with his beard and laughing. Nan, be good. Father will carve you a little toy every year from now on. I'll keep carving until the day you marry, until they fill a whole big chest. My father had indeed kept his promise. It was just that later he had replaced the recipient with Su Tangyu. Pulling myself back to the present, my eyes shot up from those toys that held the warmth of distant memories, landing back on my father's face. In the end, I said only one thing, my tone utterly indifferent. Thank you for your concern, Father. I've long since recovered. I'm a little tired. I'll go back to my room to rest first. During dinner that evening, Su Yang and my mother kept piling food onto my plate. Time and again, Su Tangyu shot me a venomous glare. Then, pretending to be casual, she spoke up. Sister, when you ran away from home this time, Father and Mother were almost driven to distraction worrying about you. Sigh. You really need to change this willful, headstrong personality of yours. Speaking of which, I still remember last winter when sister flew into a rage just because I accidentally knocked over her inkstone, pushing me down into the snow. Thinking about it now, I still feel a little scared. Su Tangyu immediately leaned closer to my mother, looking wronged. Su Yang, sitting beside me, frowned deeply at once. Tangyu, don't bring up things that are in the past. What's more, you were the one who went into her study that time without her permission. His voice paused for a moment. Then he looked up at my mother. And that inkstone was a birthday gift mother gave her. My mother's hand, which had been in the middle of picking up a piece of garlic, froze abruptly. She quickly smoothed things over, saying, all right. What's done is done. The most important thing now is that our family lives in harmony. Su Tangyu pouted, and tears as big as beans rolled down her cheeks. Mother, I was just talking casually. I didn't mean to blame sister. And back then, I only wanted to sneak a peek into sister's study because I liked that inkstone so much. Seeing her in tears, my mother hurried to comfort her, piling all of Su Tangyu's favorite dishes onto her plate. Seemingly noticing that she still didn't look cheered up, she turned her head and said to me, "He don't blame your sister either." Excuse me. Had I said a single word from start to finish, but fortunately I was already used to this feeling. No matter what happened, they always ended up blaming it all on me. I picked up the spare rib from my bowl and placed it into Su Yang's. Brother, you eat it. Su Yang shot a helpless glance at my mother. Mother, have you even forgotten that he doesn't like eating garlic? My mother froze for a moment as if she wanted to make amends, but I beat her to it, turning to Su Tangyu and saying, since you like that inkstone so much, you can have it. With that said, I didn't bother to look at the stunned expressions on everyone's faces, getting up and leaving straight away. It sounded as if my mother called out my name behind me. Her voice was very soft, so I simply pretended not to hear it. For a while after that, everyone in the family became inexplicably warm and friendly toward me. Su Yang, in particular, started popping by my courtyard from time to time, each time bringing some novel trinket to try to please me. Sometimes when I ignored him, he would mumble dejectedly, "I feel like you've been different since you came back this time. It's like you're drifting further and further away from me." Yes, once upon a time I had been stubborn and prickly. Every time I found out he had secretly taken Su Tangyu out to play behind my back, I would fly into a rage and have a huge fight with him. Sometimes in the heat of the argument, I would blurt out all sorts of harsh words. Su Yang, if it weren't for you back then, I would never have been kidnapped. You owe me for the rest of your life. You have to be good to me forever. After hearing these words so many times, Su Yang had grown more and more annoyed with me. Instead, he had channeled all the guilt he felt toward me into doting on Su Tangyu. That day, when he showed up at my courtyard drunk, he happened to catch Lu Jingheng pestering me. Su Yang flew into a fury. Stepping forward, he grabbed Lu Jingheng by the collar and threw a heavy punch at his face. Lu Jingheng, you two-timing scoundrel. It wasn't enough that you broke my sister's heart once before. Now you have the nerve to come pestering her again and again. In the end, the two of them got into a scuffle, both ending up badly injured. Lu Jingheng stormed off in a fit of anger, perhaps because he was drunk. Su Yang sat down on the ground, his eyes red, and looked up at me. Hey, can we go back to the way we were when we were kids? I sighed softly in my heart without saying a word. I turned around, fetched the medicine box from my room, and handed it to him. At my mother's birthday banquet, a great many distinguished guests had been invited. As the ladies chatted in small groups, Su Tangyu not only wore an eye-catching dress but also deliberately showed up wearing an ornate jade hairpin. When someone asked about it, her voice was filled with unmistakable pride. Father and mother gave this to me. They even said that only I am worthy of wearing this ancestral hairpin. As she spoke, her eyes kept darting in my direction. I ignored her gaze completely, picking up a handful of sunflower seeds and starting to crack them all around us. Voices of mockery could be heard. How pitiful. The legitimate daughter is being upstaged by an adopted daughter at her own mother's birthday banquet. I heard that the eldest Miss Su was abducted by human traffickers when she was little. I had long since grown accustomed to these people who love to curry favor with the powerful and look down on the weak, paying no heed to their mocking words, but I never expected that my mother would appear at that moment. First she stepped forward, removed the jade hairpin from Su Tangyu's head, and said in a rather stern tone, "Tangyu, this piece of jewelry is too extravagant. It is not suitable for your station." Su Tangyu stared at her in disbelief, catching sight of the gloating looks on the other people's faces. Her cheeks flushed a deep shade of crimson. Humiliated and flustered, she spluttered, "Mother, how could you make me lose face in front of everyone like this?" Her voice trembled on the verge of tears. She had thought that my mother would rush to comfort her. To her surprise, however, my mother said in a sharp, unyielding tone, "Your sister is the legitimate daughter of the Su family. You must not overstep your bounds by wearing jewelry that clearly exceeds your status." My father, standing by the door, waved me over. "Come greet the guests with father." In an instant, Su Tangyu went from being the center of everyone's attention to the target of all their criticism. The very people who had been sneering at me just now turned to jeer at her. She should know her place. How dare an adopted daughter lord it over others like this? Su Tangyu burst into tears and fled back to her room, never to appear again for the rest of the banquet. After the banquet was over, Su Tangyu came to see me, her eyes swollen like walnuts from crying. "Sister, now everyone in the family is siding with you. You're delighted, aren't you?" I took a sip of tea slowly, then looked at her unhurriedly. "What exactly do you want to say?" Su Tangyu let out a sudden laugh. Her cold, venomous voice was like that of a poisonous snake lying dormant in the dark. "I'll tell you this. I will never let you take father, mother, and brother away from me so easily. Sooner or later, I will drive you out of the Su family." I smiled faintly. "I'll be looking forward to it." After that banquet, Su Tangyu seemed to have become an entirely different person. She no longer confronted me head-on as she used to. Instead, she adopted an almost obsequious attitude, constantly trying to curry favor with me. Whenever my mother gave her jewelry, she would let me pick first. Any gift Su Yang gave her, she would send to me untouched. As for my father, the list went on, even though I never accepted any of these things, returning them to her exactly as they were every time. She still had her servants pile them up outside my door every single day without fail. It was like a silent play performed for the benefit of everyone else in the household. I had a premonition that she was plotting something in secret until one day she left a letter behind and disappeared from the house without a trace. The handwriting on the letter was scribbled and smudged as if soaked with tears, every word dripping with blood, every sentence piercing to the heart. In it, she cried that as an outsider, she had already been guilty of occupying a place in the Su family for so many years. And now she had even become the source of discord in the household. At the very end of the letter she wrote, "I know sister can never tolerate me. I also never wanted to destroy the harmony of this family because of myself, which is why I have endured sister's bullying all this time. But people get tired eventually. Father, mother, brother, I can't hold on any longer. If this family must have one person leave first, then I would rather that person be me." After reading the letter, my mother immediately clutched it to her chest and burst into heart-wrenching sobs. This silly child. She's not an outsider at all. Su Yang, who had been standing silently by the side, suddenly rushed up to me, grabbing me by the collar. His voice trembled with anger and disappointment. "Su Hai, all these days, the whole family has been bending over backward to please you. Tangyu has been doing everything she can to curry favor with you, putting up with everything, letting you choose whatever clothes and jewelry you want. What more could you possibly want? Do you really have to drive her away?" I hadn't even recovered from his accusations when my mother, overcome with emotion, rushed forward. Lifting her hand, she brought it crashing down onto my face with a sharp slap. A searing, burning pain spread across my cheek instantly, my ears ringing with a deafening buzz. She pointed at me, tears streaming down her face. Yet her eyes were filled with nothing but loathing and coldness. "How could I have given birth to a daughter as scheming and vicious as you? Now your sister is gone, driven away by you. Are you satisfied? Are you happy now?" I clutched my stinging cheek, stumbling backward a step. My face was on fire with pain, but my heart was a desolate, icy wasteland. I suddenly wanted to laugh. "Look at yourself, Su Hai. You actually foolishly allowed yourself to harbor the tiniest glimmer of hope." I didn't feel all that disappointed in them. What I felt more than anything was a deep, profound weariness and a sense of resignation. On the third day after Su Tangyu's disappearance, an unsigned secret letter was quietly delivered to the Su mansion. The message inside was simple and cruel. Su Tangyu was in their hands. If they wanted her back safe and sound, there was only one condition. Exchange her for the true eldest daughter of the Su family, Su Hai. Inside the main hall, the air was so heavy it was almost suffocating after what felt like an eternity. My father was the first to speak. He has already dispatched the most elite mansion guards. They will set up an impregnable net along the way. You just need to go meet them first. Swap places with Tangyu. Our men will charge out immediately. Not a single hair on your head will be harmed. Mother lunged forward and grabbed my hands, her icy fingers trembling slightly. Mother knows you've been wronged. But Tangyu is delicate. She can't endure such torment. Just pity her. Help the family this once. Will you? Mother swears. We will compensate you 1,000-fold, 100-fold from now on. I listened quietly until their voices faded away. Su Yang stood beside me. His gaze locked on me with a complicated mix of anxiety for Su Tangyu and a flicker of uneasy guilt toward me. All eyes were fixed on me, waiting for my reaction. For the expected tantrum, the tears, the refusal. But under their anxious stares, I slowly lifted my eyes, my voice calm and steady as I cut off their unfinished promises. Fine. One word, clear and crisp. Everyone froze. The comforting expressions they had plastered on their faces solidified instantly, morphing into stunned disbelief. The exchange was set at a desolate cliff edge where the wind howled relentlessly. Su Yang led me forward. On the opposite side stood Su Tangyu, bound and seemingly terrified out of her wits. At the very moment the two sides were to make the swap, everything changed in an instant. The kidnapper suddenly shoved me violently off the cliff while Su Yang pulled Tangyu back to safety. A sense of weightlessness washed over me. In that split second of falling, I saw clearly the triumphant feral grin that Su Tangyu could no longer conceal. And not far away, the figures of my parents and Su Yang, their eyes bloodshot with rage, charging toward me frantically. They were screaming my name, their faces twisted with a regret so deep it seemed to cut through their bones until they watched me vanish completely from their sight. The air fell into a terrifying silence. Su Mushin was the first to snap out of his grief. What followed was an unspeakable fury, his eyes blazing red. He roared out an order. Seize that bandit. I want him to bury my daughter with his life. But the kidnapper, who should have fled immediately, let out a cold laugh. He tore off his mask, revealing a fierce, unyielding face. He pointed unceremoniously at Su Tangyu, who had turned deathly pale. Why are you all staring at me when a debt is owed? Someone must pay. It was your precious second young lady who paid us to put on this little show of kidnapping and swapping to cut the weeds and dig up the roots. And you, Miss Su, don't tell me you're going to kill the donkey the moment it's done pulling the millstone. Su Tangyu's eyes widened in shock. What nonsense are you spouting? This is a frame-up. Slander, father. Order them to arrest this murderer who killed sister at once. The bandit let out a sneer, pulled several golden hairpins from his bosom, and tossed them to Su Yang. Lucky for me. I saw this betrayal coming a mile away. Su Yang examined the hairpins, and his expression shifted instantly from overwhelming grief to extreme shock and suspicion. These hairpins bear the Su family's mark. The words hung in the air. All eyes turned to Su Tangyu, sharp as arrows, piercing the girl who had only moments ago seemed so frightened out of her mind. Her face drained of all color. She waved her hands frantically. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. It must have been sister who bribed the bandits to frame me. Su Mushin could contain his rage no longer. He raised his hand and slapped her hard across the face. His voice trembled uncontrollably. You're saying your sister used her own life to frame you? Lu Ru or Chin, standing beside him, had stopped crying and laughing. She just sat there on the ground dazed. Before anyone could react, she scrambled to the cliff edge, driven mad with grief. Mother was wrong. Mother was wrong. Mother is coming down to be with you. Beneath the cliff, the cold, dark lake water erupted into huge splashes. Several agile figures leaped out from their hiding places into the water, fished me out quickly, and dragged me onto a small boat that had been waiting silently in the reeds. I coughed up several mouthfuls of water, wrapped myself in a dry cloak, my expression calm without a trace of fear. I had grown wary the moment Su Tangyu had begun to show me uncharacteristic kindness. I had used a large sum of money to make contact with a maid by her side who had long harbored resentment toward her. I had known every detail of her schemes, including this self-directed kidnapping and the deadly trap of the cliff swap. So I had decided to beat her at her own game, bribe the bandits with even more gold, and played along with her act until the very end. At this moment, a spectacular farce must be unfolding at the top of that cliff. A cold wind blew past. I pulled my cloak tighter and said to the boatman in a quiet, steady voice, "Let's go." With the silver I had taken from the Su mansion, I traveled alone to the imperial capital. Since childhood, I had nurtured a passion for business that no one else knew about. In the end, I spent all my savings to rent a small shop in a quiet corner of the capital, far from the bustling city center. But for a woman to strike out on her own, the hardships were far beyond what I had imagined. Shortly after opening, local thugs and hooligans came knocking, demanding protection money. Rivals, seeing my business starting to thrive, resorted to underhanded tactics to sabotage me. Fortunately, a general stepped in to help. Only then did my business begin to flourish, thriving day by day. Sometimes he would come to drink wine. Sometimes he would just sit quietly with a pot of tea, saying nothing at all. Though he rarely spoke, his imposing presence and military uniform were enough to make all petty troublemakers think twice and stay away. Oh right. General Xiao was none other than that bandit who had kidnapped me that day, Xiao Hang. Later I learned the truth. He was actually the long-lost legitimate son of the Marquis of Jinbi's mansion. When he spoke of his past, his tone was calm, as if he were telling someone else's story. Years ago, his father had favored his concubine's son to an extreme degree, treating him, the legitimate heir, with nothing but harshness and indifference. In a fit of anger, he had run away from home. In the recklessness of youth, he had wanted to tarnish his father's reputation, so he had simply become a bandit in the mountains, and that was when our paths had crossed by chance. He said that the look of unyielding pride in my eyes that day at the cliff had reminded him so much of himself when he had left home. Later, he had woken up to his folly, realizing that taking such paths to revenge against his father was nothing more than ruining himself. So he had hidden his true identity, joined the army, clawed his way up from the lowest rank of common soldier to his current position as a highly decorated general, earning every bit of his success with his own blood and sweat. Not a shred of it borrowed from the prestige of the Marquis of Jinbi's mansion. We were both people who had struggled out of the mire, both abandoned by our closest kin, yet forced to carve out a path forward with our own hands. Now my Forget Your Worries pavilion was already a well-known restaurant in the imperial capital. No one dared to look down on Boss Su anymore. Xiao Hung still came often, sometimes with friends, sometimes to drink alone. We rarely spoke of the past. We would just exchange a smile every now and then, drain our cups of wine, and let all bygones be bygones. A cool breeze fluttered the wine flag hanging from the building and brushed the newly opened account books on the desk. I finally had a life that belonged to Su Hai alone, vast, free, and full of promise for the future. Su Yang's perspective. Ever since the truth came to light that day at the cliff, the Su family had collapsed completely. Mother had suffered a severe mental breakdown. She spent all day huddled by the window, clutching Hai-Hai's faded old childhood jacket, muttering my baby girl over and over again, laughing one moment, crying the next. She never regained her sanity. We personally sent Su Tangyu to prison. Father's hand shook so violently when he signed the documents that he could barely hold the brush. Though mother was out of her mind, when the constables came to take Tangyu away, she clung tightly to her sleeve, screaming, "Give me back my he." Father's hair turned completely white overnight. He often sat alone in his study, staring blankly at those wooden carvings he had never gotten the chance to give away. No longer having the energy to attend to the affairs of the mansion, after learning of Su Hai's death, Lu Jinghang never stepped foot outside the gates of his own mansion again. And as for me, I often jolted awake in the dead of night, staring blankly at the withered branches outside the window. This was perhaps the retribution we deserved for mistreating our own sister, for trusting a venomous snake. If only we had trusted her a little more back then. If only we had listened to her when she first told us of her grievances. If only we had not been blinded by those fake tears. But alas, there were no ifs in this world.